Good afternoon, everyone. Finance New Orleans Board of Trustees meeting roll call. Chair Edgar Chase IV.
Present.
Vice Chair Andronika Morris.
Present.
Secretary Treasurer G. Wade Wooten. Board Member Giselle Johnson Banks.
Present.
Board Member Charles H. Brown. Board Member Stephen Smith. Board Member Hunter Thomas.
Here.
A quorum is present.
All right, Chair Chase, since you are driving and roll call has been completed, at this time, we do not have any old business. Moving along to the consent agenda items.
So yeah, Naj, I'd agreed to chair the meeting for Chair Chase.
Oh yeah, Naj.
Oh, you reached out. Okay, perfect. Great, guys. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, so yeah, we just talked, there's no old business, and so we need to approve the consent agenda items, which include the minutes from the March 20th, the March 2022 meeting, the full board meeting, the programs committee also from March, April programs committee meeting, and the February 2022 finance and investment committee meeting minutes. So I'd like to hear a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, none. The consent agenda is approved. That moves us into new business. And it doesn't look like we have any.
Yeah,
So we will move right into into the Finance and Investment Committee report. I believe we have a presentation and discussion from Byron.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Morris. Good afternoon, board.
Good afternoon.
So I'll start with an update on the 2021 audit, and then I'll move into the market update and financial status report. So the audit engagement for fiscal year 21 has officially started. It started last week. It is being engaged by Postlethwaite and Netterville, as well as Bruno and Turnbullon. These are the same auditors we've used for the past few years, so they will be conducting our 21 audit as well. It is being performed remotely. At this time, we are in the beginning stage with the finance team and myself. We're working to fulfill most of the requests from the PBC list, or the provided by list this week. We do have a very tight deadline, roughly 6 weeks, which we intend to, try to meet the June 30th deadline. And so at this point, we feel comfortable that, we'll meet that deadline. Of course, things can change, but as usual, I will definitely keep the board aware of any changes to that deadline date. But at this time, we're focusing on a June 30th date. There are 2 items that's needed from the board, which are standard kind of housekeeping requests that we request every year. One is the related party questionnaire, which you should have received last week. If you have not, please let me know so I can resend that to you, because it's possible it could have gotten lost in the shuffle in the junk box. But just please let me know if you have not received that. And then the other is the Louisiana compliance questionnaire, which I'm currently preparing, which will be reviewed by the Finance Committee Chair, Mr. Wooten, and Mr. Burns for reviewing and signature there. And then finally, we have the statewide agreed upon procedures. This is an additional document or requirement that for quasi-public entities like ourselves, we have not had this state agreed upon procedures for the past 2 years because of the pandemic. They suspended it. This will be reinstituted this year, well, for the FY21. So there will be that additional document. So I just want to give the board a heads up there. But as always, I will provide updates as we move along and make you aware of any issues or concerns that may arise as we reach the June 30 deadline. Any questions?
I have one quick question, Byron. Thank you for the nudge about the related party questionnaire. You said when you sent the email as soon as possible. Could you give us a deadline, please? That's easier to prioritize.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, I'll touch bases with the auditors, but we typically, yeah, I would say probably 2 weeks from now. But I'll send out an official date, a hard date, so you can manage.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
No problem. Any other questions?
Is it?
All right. If not, we'll move on to the market update. So we're still in this environment of market uncertainty and volatility, as we still have these inflation concerns. We still have the monetary policy tightening by the Fed. We still have this heightened geopolitical risks that remain. And we still, the COVID is kind of questionable right now. So all of these are major contributors to the volatility that we're seeing. The big item that everyone's been looking at, of course, is the CPI reading, which in April, it did move down slightly from the prior month. That kind of signals that we may be reaching a peak or may have reached a peak. But there's still that annual and monthly pace increase that's still a surprise to the upside. So that may confirm that the Fed still, they may still remain hawkish and continue to fight it and increase rates. So the probability of them increasing still remains. We saw that headline CPI and increase 8.3 in April. It was 8.5 in March. So we'll keep an eye on that. As a result of that, bond rates have moved up. We've seen the 10-year almost touched 3%. By the end of last month, it was 2.94, moved up 15 basis points from the prior month. And I believe it actually touched 3% this month. But muni yields have also increased across the yield curve. The 10-year point, it moved up roughly 48 basis points. And then we're also seeing mortgage rates and mortgage MBS increase as well across the board. On a local side, unemployment rate in all these parishes was relatively unchanged month over month. So nothing big there. So I'll move on to the financial status report. All right, so this is as of April year to date. Our actual revenues are at 57,000 to a budget of 268,000. So that's a shortfall of 211, driven primarily by that multifamily income line. As we know, these pilot deals, it's pretty, it can be volatile in terms of when they close. So that line can be very volatile, but we do have a recent pilot that closed that's not showing up here. We'll see that in the next report. So we'll see some revenue flowing through that line next month. On the expense side, actual expenses are 526,000. We are favorable year to date. by 228,000, favorable across the entire spectrum of expenses. So we're remaining conservative there. Next page. This is our 13-month trending on our revenues and expenses. You'll see we're starting to see a little pickup in revenues in March and April there. We're actually starting to see some of the pilots that we closed last year, some of the annual revenue that we received from that come in. And we also had some application fees that came in during those months. So that's driving an increase there. And on the expense side, you'll see we're trending within averages there. Nothing major to point out. Next page. This is our balance sheet for the operating account. Nothing material to report. The composition remains the same. Next page. Next page there. All right. So this is our Pathways Fund. No activity here, but year to date, the $796 you see there is interest from our bank accounts, and on the expense side is $18,000, primarily driven by our insurance expense, which we just paid our annual renewal. So that was a huge chunk that came through in, I believe it was March. But that will kind of trend out as we go throughout the year. Yep. So next page. And then our cash and cash equivalents, the composition remains the same between the funds, 8.9 versus 9.7 in the prior month, which is basically our runoff from our revenues and expenses. And that completes my report. Any questions, comments? All right, if there's none, thank you.
Thank you so much, Byron. So we're now going to move into the Programs Committee report. And this is going to be a briefer one than we normally have. There isn't a whole lot to share on an updates for programs. Marketing for the Green Mortgage program has begun, and they're going to be finalizing the Finance and Wellness team, which we're a part of. We'll be finalizing mail outs and other pieces to let people know about the program. One of the sites that we've been waiting on closing for this quarter, we hope to close in first quarter, did close this. It did close in second quarter. And we still have 2 pending. We were hoping for 3 to be done in the first quarter. All 3 have been pushed to the second quarter. One of them has closed. We still have 2 more. So the reveal has closed, and then we have 2 pending that the team is hoping to get done by the end of May. We still have a week left in May, so that's still possible. But it's unlikely that Christopher Park is going to get done because they are going to the Hanover board tomorrow to get approval for SAC. SAC approval is something that the Housing Authority has to get in order to disposition land and to even when they're doing a development deal. And so the Special Application Center will approve that. And once that's done, then they can close. So they're hoping to expedite that and still keep them on target to be done in second quarter. And the staff will begin contacting anybody in a pending application and getting updates from their active folks to get us a better update on the pipeline. Because as Byron mentioned, there's still some uncertainty going on in the market, but there are deals that were already in movement, and some of them may be moving even more so now that they may have gotten some funding or some commitments of funding from other partners like the Louisiana Housing Corporation. So the staff is going to, refresh those and be able to update the pipeline. We also talked to the staff about what's happening at the federal markets with inflation and with the Federal Reserve and their action. And while normally these things are discussed with the Finance and Investments Committee, Program Committee asked the staff to also talk with us about those things so we could understand what's happening and specifically, focus on single family production. So the team will be talking to the Programs Committee at the June meeting about this so that we can not just hear about the pipeline of deals, but also just see what's going on with the market and how the staff is responding to that. And that's all we have from the Programs Committee. Any questions, comments? All right, then we're going to move on to CEO presentation. Damon?
Thank you, board members. Good afternoon. Naj, Elizabeth, please pull up that presentation that I sent you. So as those visuals are coming on the screen, I'll just give a little backdrop to the board on what's been going on over the last few months since we met. We last met in March, and we presented to you a series of upcoming events and initiatives that we were focused on as a staff. And I'm happy to report that we started that roadshow of promoting Finance New Orleans to investors, to different stakeholders, and have gone through a series of events and conferences. And now we're at a point where we're ready to execute or focus more on the execution of programs, new funds, new ideas that we've been talking about for a while. So one of the issues that we have as an agency is we want to create a big impact, but we need additional financial support and the support of other resources, private sector resources, in order to create the kind of impact that we're looking for. So the roadshow that I'm talking about was very important from the perspective of reaching out to the appropriate stakeholders from Wall Street, reaching out to the appropriate stakeholders from the development side, as well as other agencies such as green banks, housing finance agencies, as well as federal agencies that are all calibrated around creating the impacts in these different cities. So Finance New Orleans has had an opportunity to tell its story, and I think we're in good position based on all the things that we'd like to do moving forward. So I'm going to share my screen just so you can see some of these ideas that I'm talking about. Give me one moment. Everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we've updated the calendar that we looked at in March, reordered some of the items, but all of the items are the same. So we started out with New Orleans Entrepreneur Week, which we were invited to, and we had an opportunity to talk about some of the things that we'd like to accomplish on the innovation and infrastructure side. So that conversation set in motion a number of subsequent conversations and ideas that we're pursuing with different stakeholders. So more to report from the innovation side soon. We hosted our own annual investor summit and announced the impact bonds that we've been working on for the last few years. We got a pretty positive response from the market during the summit. We held it in different parts. We had an online version that was open to investors from not only across the country, but internationally as well. There's a lot more international interest in the municipal bond market. So we were able to reach out to a number of different channels, but also we were able to talk locally or in person with a number of local investors and interested parties that were here in the city to participate in the summit. So in short, we've touched quite a bit of the players in the market from all different angles. So as we come out with a more formal announcement in a few weeks, we should have a pretty good audience and receive some good ideas for how to move forward. We also had our NALFA conference, our annual Housing Finance Agency conference, and a few of the board members were able to participate along with staff. And we had a chance to get out and listen to what's going on in the industry, as well as do some coordination and collaboration with other agencies to learn about how they're doing their programs and how we can adopt some of those things here in New Orleans and actually share some of our techniques in New Orleans with other agencies around the country. So that's actually going to help more of our internal development and overall strategic outlook as we better collaborate with the wider industry. We also had an opportunity to talk about our platform at the Milken Institute, which is a pretty big global conference that included financial institutions, government agencies, other types of development companies, climate energy or climate technology, and climate resilience focused organizations. So that was also some good exposure for us. And then the NFMA conference, bond issuer conference was also some good exposure. So as you can see, we've been very busy in terms of the outreach, the face-to-face outreach. A lot of people are out now, happy to be out, collaborating again since the pandemic. So, that's still an ongoing development for us as a country, but people are out and ready to hear ideas and ready to make investments. So next step for us is we're sending out an RFQ for not only bond underwriters, but interested investors and financial partners. We're using a lot of the information that we picked up on over the last few months, putting it into a formal request for ideas that will allow us to have the best direction moving forward. We think we have a lot of competition out there for what we want to do. We've created a buzz, and this RFQ will give us an opportunity to execute on that buzz. Meanwhile, we'll be launching our marketing campaign for the Green Mortgage Program. There are a lot of things that are still happening on the infrastructure side of that program, on the financial infrastructure side, to make green mortgages affordable and to make them more available for our community. So as we do that work, we're going to start getting out and talking to the key stakeholders, the realtors, the borrowers, neighborhood associations, et cetera. I mentioned earlier, Innovation Fund. There's some work still being done in the background so that we can start moving projects and truly investing in climate resilience in New Orleans. The Christopher Park project you heard about from the Programs Committee. We're in constant contact with Hano to make sure everything is where it needs to be so that we can finally close that project. And then also we're still seeking capital and organizing projects so that we can provide credit enhancement, which would stimulate more bond investment or bond issues through the Finance New Orleans platform. So we're preparing some deals for the second half of this year. And then the impact bond offering, which is going to be the focal point of that RFQ that I just mentioned. We're looking to close that in the third quarter, fourth quarter of this year. So as you can see, we have a lot to do as a staff, as an organization, but this is going to be the focus for us over the next few months. And as a staff, we'll also be doing things to adjust the way that we've been addressing or executing on some of our programs. We're learning a lot by the day, and actually a lot is changing because of what's going on in the world at large. But we're in good position to really be successful with our programming, but we just have to get more solid on the operational side and make sure that we have all of the external financial resources, particularly the financial investors or the investors, as well as the servicers, the lenders, all of those parties that have to be on board to make our programs work. That's where we're spending a lot of our time. And on this slide, you just see a few snapshots from the conference and the roadshow, the investor conference, NALFA. We also had some visitors to come down and take a tour of New Orleans. So we've been quite active over the last few months, spreading the word about Finance New Orleans. And that concludes the executive management report for May. Are there any questions from the board?
No questions, just a lot
Yeah,
of
no
good
folks.
work happening. I'm sorry, Chair Morris.
No. I was just, yeah, that's okay. I was gonna say the same thing. So no, I appreciate it. And yeah, so this is great. Thank you for that update, Damon. Yeah, and I don't think, I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to see if they wanted to come off mute and try to say anything, because they're being so polite. But I echo Commissioner Banks's comments, thanking the staff for the fine work that y'all have been doing. And again, we knew this was going to be hard. And again, I've been really thrilled, and I think everybody else has been too, at the progress made so far. And yeah, it's time to push, because I don't think a lot of people understand what's happening with the markets and things like that. You know, they accepting gas is high and inflation, and they're being told what's happening. I don't think a lot of people really understand why this is happening and what can be done about it. So I think it's really important for the Finance Authority to lead on a lot of that and provide folks with solutions, investors with solutions that will actually get at the problems that are facing the, the folks that we're most concerned about.
Chair Morris, Vice Chair Morris, is one thing I would like to pull out from the roadshow, and hearing about a lot of the ideas that are going on in different parts of the world, different parts of this country. The world is moving fast, and the markets are changing, and there are two worlds that are being created right now. And as technology starts to take over and become more and more a part of our lives, that digital divide is real. And New Orleans has always been one of those places that has been on the lower end of the digital literacy scale, or percentage-wise, at least it's percentage of population community. And it's really important that not only the public agencies, but all of the stakeholders around the city, around the community, understand the risk that's ahead of us, because the world could literally run away from this city and communities around it. So we got to do what we can do as a public agency to make sure the community has the right resources, to make sure we're using the public balance sheet in the appropriate way. Because I do have concerns, I know the staff has concerns, just about what's ahead of us and making sure that we're prepared and keeping up with the rest of the world. And that's what this RFQ is also going to give us an opportunity to do, to see what ideas are out there in the market that we can implement, and let them know that we're in the mix. We want to be ahead of the pack. We're creating a plan specific for New Orleans, but we do have some big challenges ahead of us, and we got to be ready to address it as an organization.
Absolutely. And while Angelica is preparing to move to the next item, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say that I really enjoyed the NALFA conference this year. Lots of great information as usual. Really, really good sessions. And so just want to thank you all for the opportunity to attend.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Angelica? Did we lose her?
I'm double muted. I double muted myself.
All right.
Oh, that was funny. That was the second time. Y'all didn't realize I was talking the last time. and then I thought I figured it out, but I muted myself again.
Okay.
So yes, I would just say thank you, Damon. I was thanking you for representing the board at the conference. I'm glad you were able to go, and that's really great to make sure that folks understand that the team has the board's support. And yeah, it's important to know what we're seeing in the community as a whole. And we do need to make sure that we're making those contextual connections. All right. Well, if that's it, anybody else has anything else that they want to add? All right. Doesn't seem like are not having executive session. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. We have one public comment from Paula Pete. The question is, how many single family and multifamily units have been funded fiscal year 2022?
So the question is asking us and how many have been funded. They mean how many deals have been closed? Is Paula did she submit this question in writing, or is she on the YouTube link?
It's via our public comment form that's sent via Excel and SharePoint.
Gotcha.
So it's submitted online.
Yeah, I would. Is she online right now?
If we have her email address, she's not online. I just checked the audience. If we have her email address, we can respond to her in writing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to break that down, because there's a couple different ways to answer that question. And I think it's important. I mean, again, we've been reporting about this every month, and the question is more, they start making a discrete ask about year-to-date activity. And so I think it's important that we get clarification around the question and that we answer it. And so it would be great if y'all could share with the board when you all finalize the Q&A with Paula.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? That was a twist.
And just in preparation, Ms. Morris, if we have any public comment cards that have been submitted prior to the meeting, because we have been allocating enough time to seek public comment, we'll be sure to mention that during roll call. Heads up.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that would be helpful. Yeah, I mean, and again, it was a pleasant surprise. All right. Well, if that was we only had one public comment, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
We got
All right,
more
I'll move
reports.
adjournment.
Okay.
Who was that? I'll second.
All right. I believe it was chaired by Mr. Chase, seconded by Ms. Johnson Banks. With that being said, meeting is adjourned. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.